Nancy Pelosi appeared on The View today, the talk show and daytime TV, because that's what you do when you're not really working. You just appear on daytime talk shows or, soap operas, be very dramatic, chase spokesmen around. And she spoke about the president and stimulus checks. And she also said the problem with the president right now is he's forgotten about the virus and forgotten about our heroes. It's ironic that's words coming from the person who took out hazard pay for frontline workers in her stimulus negotiations. She says the problem with the president is he doesn't want to crush the virus. It sounds like she's watching too much WWE. Crush the virus. It's like, the virus is that guy and about to jump into the ring. It's like, there's the virus. Crush the virus. Needless to say, as she also said in the last 24 hours, I do practice medicine on the side without the benefit of a diploma. Yeah, sadly to say, you won't be getting $10,000 hazard pay for that either, Nancy. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Afternoons LALATE with continuation of Check, with big developments about hazard pay and everything that is frontline, backline, and crushing the virus lines. That apparently that's the new line of the day for Nancy Pelosi. If you've not gone to Front's channel, subscribe. Subscribe because we're trying to reach 200 and I don't know. 290,000 subscribers, I think it is. And also like this video. This is a big, exciting day across the board with a lot of confusion, a lot of twists and turns. Steve Mnuchin did call Nancy Pelosi. They talked. They chatted. And it was just a few words. And that was it. Then they sort of bragged about how much work they did. This comes after yesterday when the president called off negotiations. And on that day, they had spoke a whole full 15 minutes. They worked so hard. Their fingers were hurting from holding their, $800 cell phones. It was really a long day for them. The 15 minutes on the phone. But Nancy Pelosi appeared on The View today, and she talked about how the president has really not put the heroes of America as in his top priority. This is coming from a woman who wants to give money to salary raises to the Department of Treasury before giving frontline workers a single penny. Removing hazard pay from her latest proposal. It's times like this that people sort of wonder how many politicians can lie to us in a given day, and it's just lining up. In this video, I'll be going over a lot of different twists and turns. First, I will be going over why there seems to be an issue about imagery for the stimulus relief, and why there seems to be a bifurcated focus, which means separated two, in dealing with the virus and dealing with stimulus relief. Third, I will be focusing on Larry Kudlow's comments today, which is sort of interesting. He's actually on point today. I guess he, had some $12 ice cream, I don't know. And he seems to be on focus. The question is how long that focus will be. Next, I will focus on the twists and turns of why the airlines are really pissed off at the entire situation, and why ultimately this may start to implode very quickly for the president if he doesn't do executive orders. All right, let me get to the breaking news. The breaking news is that there seems to be a bifurcated situation going on with stimulus. And I haven't really dealt with it too much, but today I am. What's going on is there appears to be two parts of the U.S. economy, and the president's only focusing on one. There are two parts, and ironically, the one he's not focusing on is the one he ran his last campaign to be the elected official for. There is the hardworking American, the solo practitioner, the single business owner, the mom and pop, the single mom who goes to work and has a W-2, the SSDI, SSI, Social Security, and Railroad benefits, the individual that just got married and they're hoping to have a kid, the person who's on veterans benefits who receives their VA or SSA check every single month. These are the people that that I reach out to and I cover on a daily basis. But the president had initially focused on them in running his last campaign, and in running this campaign, they're much of nothing. The other group is the other side of the economy. Big business, over 200 employees per business, publicly traded companies, Walmart, Target, Amazon, those Costco, those type of businesses. And what's going on today, and this is important for you to understand because you don't understand why the president's treating you this way, and I need to explain it to you, is that the president wakes up, he turns on the financial news, he sees the stock market up, he's looking at Target and Walmart and Home Depot, and he sees those stocks up, and the stocks are going to continue to go up every single day all the way up until election day. And he's like, I don't really need stimulus. Economy's doing well. Stock market's going well. And if you watch the video before this, there's a big historical analysis that says when the stock market is up every single day from September and October collectively across the entire period, the president's reelected 100% of the time. When it's not, he's out 100% of the time. So he's hoping that the stock market just does well across the board and he can float to a reelection. Now, what's happening there is you're being left behind. Jim Cramer spoke about that this morning. What happens is no stimulus is fabulous for a considerable part of the market. All the companies in technology that are stay at home, people are going to stay at home because we don't have a COVID killer. The small restaurants, they can't exist. We're going to have a world where there's going to be a Taco Bell or Chipotle on every corner. Let me explain the rest of the quote because it didn't print out. The rest of the quote is he's saying, hey, this is really good for McDonald's, which McDonald's is doing massive business. It's financially doing very, very well. But the mom and pop that has a pancake business down the street in a diner, they're closing shop. They're losing their shirt. So he's saying that everything may be pushing towards corporate America and leaving the other smaller people in the economy by the wayside. And that ultimately is you. Now, Larry Kudlow spoke about the situation. This is a second point about where stimulus relief needs to be. He spoke about it in the last few hours. There are several things that we believe will provide greater assistance in specific targeted areas of the economy. I don't think the recovery depends on a massive assistance program. However, I do think renewing or extending the PPP small business loans with tremendous assistance. I think the airlines definitely need a lot of help. I think there's probably $25 billion in there. We've always argued that schools need to be open for kids in the economy. We've always had $105 billion in there for less. We've put in extra money for the vaccines. And I think what the president was saying yesterday is, all right, we're too far apart on this gigantic bill. We've only got 4 weeks to the election, and we got a Supreme Court justice to get passed. It's too close to the election. It's not enough time to get stuff done at this stage of the game. Well, he was almost with us to the very end, where you heard no mention of stimulus checks again, and where he talked about bailing out big business. So, PPP is not big business. PPP is smaller business. But he talked about airlines, and he talked about big things. And so ultimately, the president seems to be tailoring his message to big business lately. By some accounts, the president seems to be focusing lately on only big business. He's not focusing on the individuals. He's not focusing on the frontline workers. He's not focusing on the person who needs the relief. He can talk about stimulus check, but is he just using stimulus check to get himself reelected? This is really sort of a core concern. A new report out today says that ultimately what might be at issue is that the president is not willing to do enough stimulus across the board. As we sit here today, it's a real mixed bag among Democrats who are doing much of nothing for hazard pay, Republicans who have never done anything for hazard pay, and a president who seems to not be really focused on much of anything and sort of scattered. Ultimately, executive orders for hazard pay seems to be the focus. Purple power, hazard pay, executive orders seems to be the only way to get any executive order, any way to get hazard pay from a federal level. Now, of course, there's state level hazard pay and local hazard pay. I'll be getting to that in a second. But for purposes of the federal government, just not getting their butts together for this. To think that Nancy Pelosi is on The View talking about how she's helping heroes when hasn't done anything for heroes. To think that Nancy Pelosi's make it sound like her bill is a hero's bill, well, it's actually called that, when she pays not a single penny to a frontline worker. Now, what's important to understand is that there's a lot of things that I can get you money for in Nancy's bill other than hazard pay, but are hazard pay-ish. Other things I can get you money for locally that still exist, and other things that we can work together as a team to get for one another. Let's get to them right now. First, Nancy's bill provides for a lot of grants, and a lot of grants in a ways in which you would not believe. There's a CDC grant for essential workers who worked during the pandemic. It's not hazard pay, but it's a different type of grant. Of course, her bill's not law yet, but there's that. Then there's another call for an EIDL loan, an EIDL grant in her bill. That EIDL grant would be very helpful to you if you're an independent contractor, a sole practitioner, or a single, or anyone that has a W-9 or a Schedule C in any capacity. This would apply to you. This is categorically incredible. Now, separate and apart from that, there's other money that is out there for you if you worked during the pandemic in a capacity of an essential worker. And that money falls under different circumstances, and I'm going to go over that right now. First, EIDL loans. You can get an EIDL loan if you worked as an essential worker during the pandemic and you worked in a capacity that is like a Schedule C, or is it 1120S or 1120, or an LLC or a corp capacity. Those would be people like truck drivers, Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, Grubhub, Postmates. It could also be someone that, did anything as an independent contractor. If you have anything Schedule C in 2019, you should be getting an SBA loan. It's a lot of money that you can get right away based upon your 2019 earnings. How much is it and how does it work? Well, you take your 2019 gross revenue, you subtract it from it, your cost of goods sold, which is the line 2 of your tax return, and that'll come up with a number. And with that number, you divide by 2, and that's how much SBA will loan you. It's incredibly helpful. So, for example, if you were an Uber Lyft driver and you made $8,000 last year, and it cost you $100 to run your operation, where you take $8,000 minus $100, divide by 2, and that's approximately $4,000. So SBA will give you a $4,000 loan. You see how simple that is? $4,000 loan. Now, you may be, I don't want a loan, I want a grant. You want a loan. You want a loan because it's principal free and interest free for the first year. So the money is yours and you don't have to pay back a single penny for the first year. After that, it starts to amortize over 30 something years. You have 30 years to pay back $4,000. You know how slow that is? It's absolutely categorically incredible. It would be the big difference. Imagine $4,000. That's the equivalent of almost, 3 stimulus checks? So it's incredible relief that you can get right now. You go to sba.gov and look for the EIDL loan. If you have questions about how to do it, go into the pinned comment. It has a pin. As a pinned comment from LALATE, and it shows you how to get to the private. The private on Instagram will provide you assistance if you need questions about how to do the application. There's a mentor in there. All right, now let's turn to other money that's out there besides, that's actually out there, not like Nancy's money we're waiting for. Wait. That is state and local, city and county. It's all there. It's coming out in new groves. It's just being announced, or it has been announced, or it's going to be announced. It's part of that $150 billion of the CARES Act 1 money. And what I've been detailing for several weeks now, and this is the call to action for the Purple Power delegates, I'm going to set them up and we get this going, is that there are grant programs out there that get you money. Money for hazard pay, money for FPUC, money for hazard pay, money for rent, money for food. Money for stimulus checks. And cities and counties have this money, they got to use it or lose it. The money is being dedicated into news articles being published on Google News that have the title generally something like Grant plus the name of the city plus CARES Act. So you need to go on Google News and look for those grants. Grants are being announced by the day. And if you don't hear the grant, you're going to miss it. And the reason why it's being announced right now is because they have fortunes they've not used, and it's use it or lose it time. That's the purpose of the Purple Power delegates. A delegate in every state across the country that can help you find these grants and help be your guide and ears and eyes for people who are not particularly tech savvy. And we're almost there, and that will ramp up in the next few days. Sandra Belshaw, let me answer some of your 1,200 questions. This is so frustrating. People losing their homes. How pathetic. Another Sandra Firestein. While they're fighting like kids, and our lives are falling apart. Ruth, it feels like our kids are in the middle of an ugly divorce. Rebecca, they're all playing petty games. Lisa, I'm not even mad. I'm just completely sad. Edith, no stimulus. They're pocketing our money for themselves. Tina, I helped my neighbor on the up the road because she needed food, so I went out and bought her some food because I could. They needed help bad. Plus, I stocked up on some canned box foods before this pandemic happened. I must have sensed something. So once the stimulus comes in, people should put some aside and go stock up. If everyone has a Walmart near them, go stock up on boxed dinners, plus have some more for some deals. If you have no Walmart, go to an inexpensive store. Stock up, everyone. Help is out there. Just look. Tina Shotlaw. I love that. Thank you, Tina, for those wonderful comments. Matthew, this should give the president even more reason to use power for executive order. Stimulus. This is perfect platform for president to do executive order. Barbara, I can't wait until Thursday when the new unemployment report comes out with all the layoffs and firings of the airline workers. I love her. Love you, Barbara. Love that. Mac Marquez, they're all selfish people. Brenda, Trump better have stimulus check up his sleeve. Another Brenda. No, this one's a Barbara. I still have optimism he will surprise us all. Rebecca, I can't take any more about this. Rich, I told you. Comb it over. Maryland, politicians are supposed to be professionals. Why can't they keep their professional feelings out of this? Oh, their personal feelings out of this. Michelle, I have 4 brothers and 2 sisters, and I'm going to all those listings around my town and getting them to do the same around their town. No one votes for Trump without a stimulus before the election. He's trying to buy the election by intimidation, saying he wins. Guy, Michelle, so sad they're playing games. Sean, something's off. Trump just retweeted NBC said what Jerome Powell said, that's more is needed. And his response was, he said, true. I did not catch that. I mean, there's a lot of crazy tweets that he's tweeted in the last 24 hours. He tweeted something about a bar in D.C. where they were celebrating the police coming in. Well, the bar was packed and no one had masks on and no one was social distancing. I just don't know how long this message is going to continue with him. Betty, when a person came from the family with money, they will never understand less fortunate people and they really don't care. Not necessarily true. Darren Timmerman, I'm starting to think that Nancy isn't the main villain in the story. Her story has been basically stayed the same. If you look at the comments Steve, Mark, and Trump have made all over the board. Amen. Sherry, next 24 hours, Trump said he wants to come to an agreement on a stimulus. The next minute, he says he waits till the election. What kind of person runs our country here? I love that, Sherry. Marcia, why did the president say he was going to cancel the month checks until after the election? He didn't say he was going to cancel the checks. He said he was going to cancel the negotiations. This is how things get confused very quickly. Keela, I shared my resource information from my state and left Trump a tweet. Good. Tiyosho, it's funny thing is our money, they don't care. They don't want to give it to us. And more. If you have questions to today's video, drop in the comments below. Big developments still coming. Go to the front of this channel and subscribe. It is a full day. There's a lot more coming up. Coming up next is additionally big developments on unemployment benefits. Please stay tuned for that. And then Pelosi versus Mnuchin, your favorite special. Big developments and still unfolding. As always, like this video as well. It's a full day. It's a full day, and you understand the importance of being close to the words that are said. He didn't say, I'm not going to send stimulus checks. He just said, I'm stopping negotiations, which is different. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay LA for more.